All right, we're going to get started. Hello, and welcome to this live Conditions for Success workshop. This is part of the Star Power Method series. For those of you who are new to this work, I am Lisa Robbin Young. I am the creator of the Star Power Method. I know that we've got some new people in this workshop, so I want to say welcome and give you a special thank you. And thanks to all of you who are joining me today. You're going to want to make sure that you have your note-taking device of choice at the ready. I expect this to be about a 2-hour workshop, and we're going to take a break partway through to get up and stretch and take care of your biological needs. That's part of my Conditions for Success, and we'll talk a little bit more about that as we get there. If you're watching the recording, you have the luxury of skipping and starting and stopping whenever you want to at your own pace. Do what works for you. Run it at 2x speed if that blows your hair back. This recording, or the final recording, will be freely available to all of our community members. So even if you haven't invested in the Star Power program, you can still access this workshop and come back to it at any time. If you somehow found this workshop and you're not yet a member of the Rising Tide community, you can join. I put the link in the chat. It's lisarobbinyong.com/CFS for the Conditions for Success. That's CFS. And to also be clear, there is nothing for sale here today. I'm not selling anything because this is part of a paid program. And I just decided to make this workshop available to everybody because this isn't just a workshop about business. Yes, there will be some business things that are very specific to business, but there's a lot more here that I think is really applicable to a lot of people. And this was an eye-opening discovery for me that I felt called to share in a much wider way. Jen's here. Hey, Jen. So those of you that have been around for a while, or you've joined me for my planning workshops in the past, you have heard me talk about Conditions for Success before, but I have never taught it like this before. We are going to get very granular. We are going to go deep today. And the whole idea for this concept came from a quote that I saw by Oscar Wilde. He was an Irish author, a poet, a playwright, an iconoclast, that's what I call him, from the Victorian age. And the quote that I read said, "Success is a science. If you have the conditions, you get the result." Now, I recently learned that there's a bigger context in which this quote was written. Oscar Wilde was actually mounting a production of one of his plays, and he was wooing this actress to play the lead. And so in a letter to her, he wrote, quote, let me read it so that I say it right. "My name, signed to a play, will excite some interest in London and America. Your name as the heroine carries great weight with it. What we want to do is to have all the real conditions of success in our hands. Success is a science. If you have the conditions, you get the result." End quote. And it's that last bit that started me on this path, because I really wasn't sure. I mean, like, can you really be successful if all the conditions are right? I mean, it kind of sounds like, well, yeah, of course. But I think more accurately, the question is it possible to have all the real conditions of success in our hands? Like, can we really control all of those conditions? Yes and no. And we'll talk more about that as we go. So I started using this concept in a very generic way to kind of test it out. It was just a single sheet of paper, and it said Conditions for Success, or My Conditions for Success, at the top of the page. And if you have one of our planners, it's in there, you'll see it. And I just started asking my clients to consider what sets them up for success. Is it starting your morning with a sacred practice? Is it having your favorite beverage on refill instantly? Like, what is the thing? Maybe it's having the right elements in your environment of empowerment. Like, this is my current office, right? And for some people, this is a lot to take in. This is like, woo, like very distracting and very overwhelming. But for me, I get to see all my pretties and my sparklies, and that makes me happy, and it brings me joy, and it puts me in a very positive, energetic space, right? I have this neon sign that says "Be you," but it also says "Believe in yourself." And that fills me up in a certain way. So this is my environment of empowerment. It's still a work in progress. I still got some stuff on the floor, but I mean, it's getting there, right? So for me, I needed to have something that really worked for me, and you need to have those things that work for you. Jen says, "I love your office. I need all the pretties around me too." Right, right. And Shayna says, "I spy one of your books." Yes, one of my books right there, and that's a strategic move for today. Usually, this book sits way back over there, but no one can see it. So I put it right there on purpose, right? And when I am filming, having that kind of authority with me is a condition for success. All right. So that's where I started. Just a cursory glance at what you need to have around you, what you need to get rid of in order to set yourself up for the best possible success. And for some of my clients, this was plenty. That was all they needed, right? Wind the key and they could go. It was the permission slip that they needed to start aligning their world to better serve and support them. They were decluttering, they were rearranging, they were creating success rituals for themselves that really did make a difference in their life and their work. I had one client who decided to become a person who always had a clean car because of how it made her feel. That became part of her environment of empowerment. She'd get in the car and it would trigger a certain sense of self-esteem in her, and she carried herself differently. But for some of my other clients, something wasn't working. And I mean, okay, nothing's going to work for everyone. Like, let's call that truth out right now. Nothing works for everybody because we're all different and we have different circumstances. But there were some recurring themes that left me with this nagging sense that this exercise was incomplete, and possibly even dangerous. And I say dangerous because if it's not truly helpful, it might actually be harming my clients, giving them this false sense of hope that things are going to be better, and then setting them up to experience failure instead of success, which was the very opposite of what I was going for. So I had clients that were doing everything right, working hard, staying visible, saying yes to opportunities, and they were still hitting walls. Now, I'm not here to give anybody a pass, but we also have to acknowledge that we operate in a society where exhaustion is viewed like a badge of honor, where hustle is some kind of proof of commitment. And if you're struggling, then the assumption is, well, it's you. So there's something wrong with you. You're the problem, not the system that you're trying to survive in. So I came face to face with this reality that even when you follow the rules, those promised rewards don't always come. And I think for many, especially folks that are in marginalized or non-normative identities, there's this slow grinding awareness that, oh my gosh, this system was never built for me in the first place. And you can start to see this shifting in the landscape now, right? Now we're seeing more people leaving corporate jobs, not because they don't want to work, but because they need something that works for them, right? One of the things I always talk about is building a business that works for how you're wired to work. We see the rise of anti-hustle and slow business movements, not as trends, but as survival strategies, right? Like they just can't stay on the hamster wheel of hustle. We've got people openly rejecting the whole idea of living to work, and they're prioritizing their mental health, their boundaries. And there's this growing recognition in leadership that empathy, inclusion, self-awareness are not those soft skills that are nice to have. They are very necessary, important success skills that they're now trying to train into their organizations. And meanwhile, the systems that are supposed to support us, healthcare, education, finance, they keep revealing these inequities that are making it hard for us. A single illness or an unexpected childcare need or a systemic bias in lending can unravel years of progress for somebody who's been trying to play by those old rules. And these aren't abstracts that I'm talking about. These are lived experiences. Redlining still exists in some communities, even though it's illegal. They just call it something different, right? There are pay gaps, cultural fit hiring practices that exclude differences. Oh, you're just not a cultural fit. Okay. And they're not accidents, right? This is a feature of the system, not a glitch. And it's this old scaffolding that is finally starting to crumble under the weight of so many people who are saying, well, if the system wasn't designed for me in the first place, then why am I still trying to succeed inside it? Shayna says it's exhausting to be neurospicy in a neurotypical world, and yet neurotypicality is detrimental to my health. Absolutely. Absolutely. And thankfully, more and more people are starting to hear that message and respond. And if you're like those folks, like Shayna, you're realizing that the very definitions of success, productivity, visibility, output, are too narrow to contain your multitudes, to contain your humanity, right? Your energy, your capacity, your values matter as much, if not more, than your goals. And winning under those old rules often meant, you got to shave a piece of yourself off. And this is the moment that we're at right now, this global, systemic, deeply personal reckoning. And what's emerging is a more integrated model, one where life and work are not at odds, but they're in relationship with one another, where success is designed with your capacity, with your context, with your lived reality in mind. We're waking up to this truth that success, as much as I wish it was, is not a meritocracy. It's more like an ecosystem, one that honors your identity, your needs, your body, your boundaries, and especially your truth. Now, we've still got some road to get there, but we're moving in that direction. And right now there's this misalignment between who you are and the conditions that you've been forced to operate in. Sustainability isn't just this environmental issue. That's why I've always talked about profitable, sustainable businesses doing what you love. This is personal and collective sustainability. The future of success isn't about fitting in per se, it's about fitting in, designing alignment. And when people don't realize how the deck is stacked or stacked against them, they'll blame themselves for not thriving under unfair conditions. They'll burn themselves out trying to fix themselves instead of trying to resolve what's going on in the system. They'll internalize failures that aren't their fault. They'll make themselves smaller to survive instead of building the conditions where they can thrive. And over time, the net result is you start to believe, well, this is just the way it's always been. It's been like this for 400 years. It's never going to change. Why should I bother? Jen says, this is such an important conversation. We need to shift narratives and paradigms around the definition of success. Absolutely. Success is a very personal thing. One of the things I like to say is success is a destination and you're already here. Like, take a look around you. If you don't like the success that you're seeing right now, something has to change. And a lot of times we think it's our responsibility to make that change in us. And that's not always true. Sometimes it is, but it's not always true. When we get caught up in that, it's not just this personal exhaustion, it's a loss of brilliance, right? It's creativity and leadership gone that our world desperately needs. So we're getting robbed just as much as you are. Thankfully, we're starting to see this shift. We're seeing more conversations about neurodiversity and disability justice and trauma-informed business that are moving to the mainstream. We're seeing companies redesign around deep work and asynchronous collaboration and human-centered culture. Like, I don't care when you get it done, just get it done, right? Like, remote work has changed that landscape for a lot of people. Movements like the NAP ministry are reframing rest and pleasure and healing as acts of resistance and liberation. And when I work with my clients, it's part of the process, right? Like, if part of your process is you go hard and then you need to rest, then that rest needs to be part of your process, part of how you design the work that you do. We're seeing more people move toward capacity-aligned, justice-aware models that center care, that center equity, and that center self-trust. And it's no longer just a nice idea. This is the next stage of leadership evolution. Because success can't be about squeezing yourself into systems that were never designed for you. This is about building the conditions that let you flourish as best as possible, even inside a dysfunctional system. And believe me, we got some dysfunctional systems going on here. Most of us were taught this story about success that was never meant to work for everyone. And we were told, just work hard and follow the steps and stay positive. And then, you're going to make it. But that's a half truth. And for a lot of people, it's an outright lie. Because the system that we're all operating in, capitalism, white supremacy, patriarchy, ableism, heteronormativity, was not designed for equal access or opportunity for all. So some of us are trying to play a game where the rules were written without us in mind. And in some cases, those rules were written to specifically keep us out through gatekeeping of wealth or access or power or privilege. If you were born into a system that already favored you, then you get to ride the rules straight to the top. And the rules are very clear. Number one, don't question the system. Just master it. Just get good at it. Play the game. Number two, prioritize work above everything else, including your health and your relationships. Stay visible beyond your hustle and grind. And don't ask for help. You got to prove yourself, prove your worth, prove. Play by the rules and you'll get rewarded. But that structure was never equitable. It depends on unpaid or underpaid labor. It celebrates the loudest voices, not necessarily the wisest ones. It asks some people, especially women, neurodivergent folks, BIPOC, LGBTQ+, disabled people, and older people to contort themselves to fit into a system designed to privilege sameness and suppress difference. Shayna says, let's put the fun in dysfunctional. Yes, I'm here for that. I'm here for that. It's why professionalism so often means erasing your culture. You have to look professional, whatever that means. It's why executive presence meant emulating whiteness or emulating masculinity. And why success so often required betraying your own body, your values, or even your community so that you could get ahead. And we played along, some of us, because it came with that promise of safety, predictability, income, status. If you could play the game, you could climb the ladder. Even if it meant losing pieces of yourself along the way, at least you had some of those other things to compensate. But the problem is, those rules aren't working like they used to. And for many of us, they never did work. So when somebody says, just manifest it or work harder, think positive thoughts, or my personal least favorite, we all have the same 24 hours in a day, they're missing the point. Because we don't all have the same 24 hours that Beyonce has, because Beyonce has minions. I say all the time, you are not Gary Vee. And even Gary Vee is not Gary Vee because Gary Vee's got minions to do his bidding. We don't all have the same starting line. We don't all have the same margins for error. And pretending like we do only makes the system more of a steamroller for the people who are trapped inside it. Now, I'm not a fire starter. I'm a bridge builder. I'm an old lady now. I build bridges. And I believe that change only happens from within the system. Like we got to be in the system to make these changes. So I'm here to show those folks who are trying to create that better world on the other side of the system a way through this system so that they can make it to the other side and create the world that we all need. So if you're the one that's burning down the world, I'm here to support you getting through this one to get to the next one. And while the old world is going away, like we're seeing that, the things that have happened in the last few days, we're seeing that, but it's not gone yet. So I'm here to help you navigate those things while we are still here. And yes, Jen says it's such a harmful and toxic rhetoric. Absolutely. Absolutely. We need a version of success that actually fits who you are, where you can thrive and contribute and be well and feel proud of your work and be present in your life and finally build something that supports you in all of the ways that matter to you, right? Not all the things that matter to corporate America and all those people who really don't care about you as an individual. And on the whole, this is not about more, unless you're coming from a place of subsistence, in which case, yeah, you got to get more just to get to enough. But ultimately, this is about enough, about equilibrium, a life and work that finally work together, a way to design success that honors your actual capacity, not this cultural fantasy of endless productivity. We are not machines. When you can create alignment between who you are, how you work, and what you're here to contribute, you go from fragmented and discombobulated to integrated, from reacting to circumstances to standing confidently and being able to like orchestrate them for yourselves, to go from hustle and hope to strategy, right? Stability, from surviving the grind to actually finding your flow and being able to move and operate inside that. And that's what Conditions for Success can offer you. Today, we're going to look at 25 different elements across 7 different domains of influence in your life and work. Now, these elements move from the very intimate, personal things that you can control, things that you have direct control over, to the very broad, global things that you have probably no direct control over, but you have some influence over, either as an individual or as part of a collective. And we'll talk about that as we go through these so that you can see what I mean here. And this is the piece that I missed when I first started using this, because I just didn't know, right? Like, this is the thing that I believe kept some of my clients from experiencing the success that they were striving for, because it was the water in the fishbowl that we didn't know we were swimming in. Okay. And society tells you this story about success that sounds noble on the surface and quietly erodes your well-being. So there are 6 idols that I want to share with you that our society has taught us to worship. And it takes work to unlearn this behavior. I'm still unlearning this behavior. So if you are one of the folks who has already overcome, I salute you. Bear with us as we start to call this stuff out and go, oh yeah, that's, I see that. So idol number 1 is the idol of endless productivity, right? We'll rest when we're dead. We'll just be more consistent. Winners never quit. Just keep going. Wasn't Finding Nemo, just keep swimming, just keep swimming, just keep swimming. Taken to the extreme, that's a problem. This is the cult of optimization. But you can't build sustainable success from a place of depletion. Hustle culture disguises burnout as ambition, right? It trains you to override your natural rhythms and capacities because you've got a deadline and you've got to work from 9 to 5 and you've got to fill that time with productivity. And being productive can be helpful and useful for sure, but you can't outwork a misalignment. Believe me, I spent 11 days on my back waiting for back surgery because of all the time that I tried to outwork misalignment. Shayna says there's a reason sleep deprivation is used as a form of torture. Absolutely. Absolutely. So idol number 2, the idol of the perfect plan. And I've had clients say this, if I could just get organized, if I could just find the right system, if I could just stick to my routine, then everything would work. Your brain's lying to you. I love you and your brain is lying to you. This is the myth of control, the illusion of control. Systems need to support your energy, not police it. And this is one that I still am like learning my way through. The perfect plan is only perfect until life or your body or something else changes the rules, right? Planning is everything, but plans are useless, to terribly misquote President Eisenhower, right? The art of making the plan, that's important because it gives you a direction. But as soon as you make the plan, everything else is subject to change. But structure provides us some relief from chaos, and that's important, which is part of why we continue to keep doing this. But sustainable structures emerge from self-awareness, not from self-criticism. Let me say that one again. Sustainable structures emerge from self-awareness, not from self-criticism. And I often talk about those dome-shaped jungle gyms on the playground. You know, they're shaped kind of like an igloo and they're made with these metal bars. It's just enough structure that it can become anything your creative mind wants it to be. It's an igloo, it's a jail, it's a mountain. It can be any of those things. But if it was made out of wet spaghetti noodles, it would all fall in on itself and it'd just be a pile of mud and nobody could play with it. It would not be enjoyable. We need just enough structure, but we need our structures to support us, not to become a prison for us. So idol number 3, the idol of personal branding. And look, I am deeply entrenched in the world of personal branding, right? I am a business owner who is the face of her brand. But the message here is just be visible, be everywhere, you know, be Gary V. And we're not Gary V. This myth says that visibility equals value, that your worth is measured by engagement metrics or vanity metrics or your results. It's a capitalist distortion of genuine connection. And it's brutal for anybody who does not fit the mainstream ideal. Like, I do not fit there's nothing about me that fits the mainstream ideal except that I speak English. I am 50 years old. I am mixed race. I am not a size 0. I have neurodivergence. I have, physical disabilities. Like, that's not normative. And TikTok actively deprioritizes people that they find unattractive in the algorithm, or at least they did for a while. I don't know if they're still doing it. So the deck is stacked against me. Who knew? But being seen does feel like safety sometimes, because we're being recognized and appreciated and praised or validated. But the kind of visibility that is performative erodes your self-trust. And I lived in that story for a very long time, pretending to be somebody I wasn't in my first marriage. So this performative nature doesn't have to be on YouTube for the whole world to see. It can be right in the relationships with the people that you're closest to. And you start curating your identity instead of living it. Idol number 4, the idol of linear success. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5. Follow the blueprint, hit the milestones, scale bigger and faster, and everything's going to be great. And I will say, I teach frameworks. I teach my clients to do their planning with milestones, right? So there is a time and a place for linear. If you want $1 million, you got to get 500,000 first. If you want 500,000, you got to get to 250 first, right? Like, there is a linear progression sometimes. But here's the other thing. This myth assumes that everybody starts on equal footing, which we know is a lie. That's what success looks like in the dominant culture. Predictable progress, measurable results, tidy timelines, J-stick, hockey stick growth. There is a time and a place for milestones and step by step, but not in everything. Okay, there are a lot of things that are way more nonlinear than that. I think it was Jim Rohn who said, everybody should strive to be a millionaire, not for the $1 million, but for who they become on their way to $1 million. Like, the $1 million part is the step-by-step incremental, but the who you become part is very nonlinear. And when you measure your worth solely by your linear progress, you're missing all that nonlinear brilliance in your own unfolding. We don't want to miss out on that. Idol number 5, the idol of self-sufficiency. And as a fusion creative, this one is near and dear to my heart. Do it all by yourself. Don't rely on anybody else. Don't ask for help. It's just faster if I do it myself anyways. And sometimes it's true that it is faster if I do it myself. But then I'm left holding all the things and doing all the things myself. And that doesn't free me up to do the things that I'm really here to do. This is a capitalist colonial fantasy that independence equals strength. Nobody on planet Earth is self-made because we need clients to buy our stuff. So we need those clients. So it's not up to us all by ourselves. Every sustainable system is built on interdependence. There are some things that we do ourselves, and then there are other things that we get support for. Dependence has been framed as this weakness, and asking for help, admittedly, can feel very dangerous when you're being vulnerable asking for help, because anytime you ask for help, you're being vulnerable. And you may not know if it's safe to ask these people or that person or that audience for help. But isolation is a trap. And it keeps power centralized. It keeps you small. And baby, you are here to play big, regardless of the scale of your dreams. Okay, let's be clear. If it is your dream, it is a big dream. I don't care if it's just, I want to be the best parent on planet Earth, right? Like, if you can have a very local dream and it can still be very big. I want to make sure that we're clear on that. And lastly, idol number 6, the idol of mindset fixes. The message here is, well, if you're struggling, it's your mindset. Good vibes only. You didn't want it bad enough. You should just you can manifest this. You just got to think more positively. I am positive I'm about to kick you in the pants. This weaponizes spirituality and self-development. It blames individuals for systemic issues. And it's emotional bypassing dressed up as some kind of empowerment. Now, I'm the first one to tell you that mindset work can be powerful. I often say mindset is more important than mastery. In that, you're going to have a much better chance of succeeding if your brain is saying, I can do this, I have everything I need, and anything that I don't need is going to come to me when I need it, than to say, well, I'm not equipped. I don't know why I'm even trying. I should just bag this whole thing and forget about it. Get your mind right. But your mindset alone is often not going to be the thing that's going to move the needle for you. Mindset work works when it's grounded in reality. It becomes toxic when it erases context, when it erases privilege or embodiment, right? You can't affirm your way out of an unjust system. You can cultivate resilience and clarity inside that system. But no amount of wishful thinking is going to change redlining. Something has to happen to change redlining. Yes, Jen, another toxic rhetoric. It's just your mindset. Suzanne says, I feel this one deeply. Yeah. This is the double-edged sword, right? We keep following these things. We keep subscribing to these things because they do provide us with some of these other benefits. And then our brain goes, well, if it worked once, then we got to apply it to everything. And that's not true. But the people who follow these rules that were built for them, who work harder, polish their image, stay consistent, never complain, they're the ones that get held up as the examples. Oh, look, aren't they somebody to be admired? And when you see that model over and over and over again, you start to internalize it. And then you start thinking, well, maybe I'm not doing enough. Maybe if I just try harder, maybe if I just do more, maybe if I just stay up later, maybe if I just give my all again and again and again, I'll get there. But you can't win a rigged game by playing harder. You win by changing the rules, by designing your own conditions for success. And that's what we're going to do here today. The idea of changing the rules. Just to give you an example, I was on a podcast years ago talking about playing this game with my son. And the way you play the game, in order to win, you want to have 0 points. I don't even remember what the game was at this point. You want to have 0 points. But my kid was little and he could not get that. And he was just like, I want to get all the points. I want to collect all the things. And so for him, he would collect all the things, and by the rules, he was losing the game, but he was happy and he was having a good time and he thought he was winning. So by his definition, he was winning. And because I didn't get any of the points, I was winning too. So we both got to win. Like, you can create your own conditions for success. Shayna says the insidiousness is that there's a kernel of truth to these rules, but that kernel isn't applicable to all people in all situations. Yes, sometimes it's only applicable to one person in one situation. Absolutely. Absolutely. And our brains love that shorthand. And because our brains love that shorthand, we then say, well, if it worked here, it's going to work everywhere. One of the things that I hate to hear more than anything else is, if it worked for me, if I can do it, you can too. I don't necessarily know that that's true. Right? If you can do it, maybe I can do it if I'm set up the same way you are and have the same conditions that you are in order to have the success that you have. You can give me your chocolate chip cookie recipe and I can follow it to the T, but if my stove has a problem with its thermostat that I don't know about, I could burn those cookies and it didn't turn out like yours, even though I did exactly everything you told me to do. Yeah. Jen, you're right. It is. It's some of the worst advice out there. So let's look at the conditions for success framework. It is 4 super simple steps. Okay. Step 1 is to find your boosters. These are the things that boost you. I'm not trying to be creative here, right? Things that increase your clarity, that give you more energy, that fill you up, that make you feel more confident, that help you be your best. Those are your boosters. Your blockers. This is step 2. Find your blockers. These are the things that drain you, distract you, derail you, block you from having an experience of success. Remember, success is right now. Success is in this moment. Success is not out there somewhere. That's some goal you want to achieve, right? That's some milestone you want to hit. But if you're not feeling successful right now, something's amiss. Okay. Success is an experience. It's a thing that you feel. So what are your boosters and what are your blockers? Step 3 is to build your map, which you actually do while you are finding your boosters and blockers, right? So you're kind of doing step 3 while you're doing steps 1 and 2. But then at the end, you'll decide, okay, which ones am I really going to start moving on first? Which ones which ones are easy for me to change and which ones are going to take some time, right? That's the map. And then step 4, apply and adapt. So I'm going to copy this and put it in the chat so that you guys have it. It's not going to let me do it that way. 1 second. Let me try again. I have to put them in one at a time because that's too much text for YouTube, apparently. All right. So step 1, find your boosters. Step 2, find your blockers. Step 3, build your map. And then step 4, you're going to apply it and adapt, right? So this is a practice. This is not, look, I built a map, bye. No, we build the map, we test some things. We're like, oh, this really does help me. Oh, this really didn't help me like I thought it would. Take it off, right? Or this thing is helping me now, and at some point in the future, it's not helping me anymore. Take it off, right? We want to apply what we're learning here and then adapt. So I'm going to go through each of the 7 domains of influence first so that you can see how they go from the very personal to the very macro. Then we will come back and go one by one through each element inside those 7 domains. Okay. There are 25 elements in total spread across these 7 domains, from the very personal to the very global. And we're going to take time to talk about each one and give you time to think about, okay, what are my boosters here? What are my blockers here? And you'll start building your personal map. And I will give you some quick examples in each. All you need to do, your job is to think about what your boosters and blockers are and to write them down, right? If you've got questions, pop them in the chat, because that's the only way I can see what's going on. If you are watching the recording, you can pop your questions into our community and I will answer them there. I know I've done a lot of talking, but this is a workshop, not a lecture. I really want you to get the most out of the time that you're investing here. I really want you to walk away with, oh my gosh, that's why this works for me. And oh my gosh, that's why this doesn't. And now that I've seen it, I can't unsee it. So here are the domains of influence that we are exploring. Number one, the core domain. The core domain revolves around your identity and your purpose. These are the things that we have the most control over. If you are an independent adult, you get to decide how you want to show up in the world and who you want to be. You can seek to align your identity to your purpose in the world in ways that other people have little to no direct control over. Now, I've said that, and you're going to go, but I'm LGBTQ and it's not safe for me to be me in this environment. I hear that. I agree with that. And that is a consequence of the decision that you are making. Okay. There may be other things at play that have you masking who you are in public or in certain circumstances. And you may even have trauma from your past that makes being yourself out loud and on purpose very challenging for you. But from an internal alignment standpoint, you have the control to make the decision. Other people can influence it, but the decision ultimately rests with you. So I really want to make sure we have that understanding going forward. Shayna says, so identity, but with discernment. Yeah. So I love sparkles. I love sparkly things. And there was a long time in my life where I did not wear this because of the influences that were around me that made it very uncomfortable and difficult for me to choose this for myself. But inside me, I was still choosing this and being very angry and upset that I could not choose this publicly. And when that no longer became an issue and I could choose this, here I am. Oh, thank you, Shayna. I appreciate that. I just got this one too, not that long ago. So I really like it. Thank you. So you get to choose. You have the choice. You may not like your options. You may not like the choices that you have to make, but you're the one who gets to make the decision. Okay. That's the core domains. Now, your personal domains, this is number two, they're closely tied to these core domains. These are the external but immediate things that concern your physical, your mental, your emotional, your cognitive conditions, right? We have a good deal of control here and a bit of direct influence. But not everything here is within our power to control. For example, if you know for yourself that eating certain foods and getting a certain amount of sleep and nourishing yourself in certain ways is optimal for you, you can still get sick. Like it will happen. You can't control if you get sick. And if you're navigating a physical illness, you can't control the outcome of that illness. You might stay sick for a very long time. You might recover very quickly. It might morph into something else. You have no control over that. The best that you can do is influence the outcomes through the actions that you take to create the best possible environment for your healing and your recovery. So that is the personal domains. Now, we have operational domains. This is your work environment. And I've specifically said work environment, but I mean, it could be your home environment. It could be the tools and resources and logistics of living your life as much as it is about working your business, okay? And you have less direct control here, especially if you're like working in somebody else's office building or something like that. You have less control here than your personal domains because you're often engaging or interacting with other people who aren't necessarily close ties, right? This isn't necessarily family and friends. These are colleagues and coworkers and vendors and partners and collaborators and clients, right? And because you're dealing with other people, you have zero control over other people. Like as much as we like to think we don't. We have zero control over other people. But you're likely setting up your own office space. So like I can have my favorite cup, right? Sometimes you can't. Like if you're a telemarketer and you're working in a cube with a phone and there's no decor because somebody else is coming in 6 hours to sit in your chair, like no, you get what you get, right? But knowing that means, okay, I can't do anything about that, but there are some other things that I can do to prepare myself to go into that, right? That's why, like, if you're engaging in domains that are set up by other people, you can influence, and you have some direct influence, but you may not have as much control. Like, I'm working in somebody else's office and the chair is broken. I can't fix the chair. I can't get the chair to pay to have the chair fixed, but I can tell the dude that needs to get the chair fixed, hey, the chair's broken. Or, hey, tech support, this piece of software isn't working like it's supposed to. Can you guys fix this for me? I can't fix it. I have no control, but I can influence the people by telling them, hey, this needs to be done. Okay. So that's that domain. Our next domain, oh, I just took myself. Our next domain are the relational and social domains. These are your interactions with other individuals. We have limited control over these domains, especially people that we're close to. But you often have more influence than you realize because you are interacting directly with these folks and building relationships with them over time, establishing trust. Because other people are involved, we can't control them, okay? Because we just said that, can't control other people. And you train people how to treat you based on what they've come to expect from you and what you've come to accept from them. That breeds trust and likability and so on. So some of the elements of your interpersonal relationships can be more predictable than others, but you still don't have control. You only have influence. All right. Now, so far, we have not ventured beyond what I was already doing with my clients, right? They could look at their work environment. They could look at the people that they're engaging with. They could look at what's going on for them physically and energetically and in alignment with their mission and their identity and go, okay, these are the things that need to shift. It's these final two domains that helped me see where my exercise was falling short for my clients. The first one is capital domains. So these are our interactions with organizations and institutions, financial, educational, medical, legal, religious. Okay, these are big organizations or bigger organizations that are generally not under one person's control. There is a body of people who are making the decisions at this institutional level, a board of directors, Congress, etc. Okay. We have some influence because we interact with these organizations directly. Like I can go to my bank and go to my banker and say, these fees are ridiculous. They're probably not going to change everything. They might waive a fee for me. So I have a little bit of sway there. But if a lot of their clients come in and go, these fees are ridiculous and we're taking our money elsewhere, they'll change the policy. The example that I use is the Equal Credit Opportunity Act of 1974. That barred discrimination in lending based on gender. And it meant that women no longer needed a man to co-sign on their loan application. And that law is only a year older than I am. Okay. No one person made that change happen. It literally took an act of Congress, but Congress was only swayed because of the influence of their constituencies who said something's got to give. And so it did. So that's that domain. Finally, systemic or macro domains. These are things like the capitalist system in which most of the world functions. It also includes things like industry trends, political climates, cultural norms. Okay, these are the macro domains that often get overlooked because it's the water in the fishbowl that we're swimming in that we don't even realize is there. But if the water that you're swimming in isn't balanced and it isn't optimized for you, then it's actively challenging your very existence, no matter how much you try to align everything else in your environment to work for your advantage. And so while we can't always know or fix those things in the moment, to have the awareness of this is harder for me because capitalism wasn't built for me allows me to be more compassionate with myself as I'm looking for my way through the minefield that is capitalism. And this recognition helped me see where things were falling short for my clients' conditions for success and for my own, quite frankly. Because if the deck is stacked against you at the macro level, there's only so much that you can do to navigate or mitigate it. And your brain's probably already percolating with places to explore to shore up in your own conditions for success. Do we have any questions before we move into the individual elements? We are going to take a break here shortly, but do we have any questions before we move ahead? Somebody only ended up with 6 domains. Okay. The 7 domains. The core domains. In fact, I'll put them in the chat. One moment. Core domains revolve around identity and purpose. Personal domains are tied very closely to your core domains. La, 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 la. Your operational domains deal with your environment. Come on, work with me. Your relational and social domains are your interactions with individuals. And your capital domains are interactions with organizations and institutions. And your systemic and macro domain. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, okay, then there's 6 domains and not 7, y'all. Sorry about that. You're right. There's 6. I must have combined something somewhere. So there you go. There's 6 domains, not 7. Surprise. Good times. Way to go, Lisa. All right. So, yeah. Well, see, yeah. This is what happens when you edit things. You're like, no, this needs to go here and this needs to go there, and oh, let me judge this, and then you're like, oh, so I guess I only have 6 domains. So I will edit that later. It's 6 domains, not 7. Or I may go back to 7 and just split. We'll see. Anyways, any questions other than that before we move forward? We're good? All right. All right. So we're going to do the core domains because there's only the 2 of them, 2 elements inside the core domains. We're going to do those, and then we're probably going to need to take a break because one of my conditions for success is about every hour I need to get up and throw my body around a little bit so that my body is stretched out and does what it needs to do. We'll take a break and do bio and all of that stuff. But so anyways, let's start with the core domain. Number 1 element, your identity, your self-concept and personal truth. Who are you when you're not performing, right? What version of you feels the most alive? This is about how you see yourself, the roles and the narratives that you subscribe to, the permission to give yourself to evolve, like I didn't wear sparkles and now I do. So a booster in that area would be having clarity about what your strengths are. Like I'm very clear that I'm very good at breaking down other people's ideas and making it digestible for other people. Or I'm very clear that I'm a good storyteller. Or I'm very clear that I love my kids to the ends of the earth and there's nothing I wouldn't do for them, right? So having clarity about your strengths. Having a consistent self-reflection practice. That would also be, a booster. I sit down once a month and I review blah, 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 whatever. A blocker could be, you're living in an environment where you've got to be very performative and wear masks in order to feel safe. You're performing for approval or you're living somebody else's script. Those would all be blockers. So is there anything that you're finding that would be a booster or a blocker for you around your identity? And just note those down. Shayna says, I used to hide that I talk with guides and now I model it for others. Yeah, absolutely. Jen says, I used to hate pink and now it's my favorite. I'm still not there. I have some pink, but it's like, I'm not there. So I'm proud. I'm happy for you. I'm still not sure I'll ever get to pink. So with any, like, just a splash for me, just a splash. All right. Number 2, your purpose or your North Star, however you want to talk about that. This is your mission and your values and the things that orient your choices, right? For some people, they'll call it their why, but sometimes your why is only part of your mission or your purpose in the world. How does the work that you do connect to your why? What makes whatever you're up to meaningful for you? Okay. A booster in this area might be having a very clear mission statement, or having regular check-ins with yourself about what really matters to you, right? Or why you're doing what you're doing. It might be, inside your company, it could be sitting down with your team and having a get on board meeting once a quarter or twice a year or something like that, so that everybody's on the same page for the mission and the purpose of the business. A blocker might be scope drift, right? Like you're doing things because they're urgent, but not because they're meaningful. And so you're drifting away from your center because that's what's on the radar right now. And sometimes that does happen. And we go, I can see that now. How do I roll myself back to where I need to be? So that's your purpose. What boosters are you finding there that help? Like for me, one of the things that is really helpful for me to remember who the F I am and what I'm here to do is my morning jams playlist. Like I turn on my morning jams and I spend 30 or 40 minutes just getting down to the grooves in my kitchen. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's who I am. And that's why I do what I do. And that's who I'm here to serve through song. Because that speaks to me, right? So that's a booster for me. But what about you? All right, we are at a good place to put a pin in it and take a break. Let's do 4-ish minutes. All right, Nuggets, we are back. All right, we're going to move into the personal, internal elements now. And if you guys have a question at any point along the way, please pop them in the chat, or if you're watching the recording, make sure you pop them into the community. I am 100% here to support your grasping of these concepts and being able to integrate them like that. Those idols of like measuring our worth based on our results, when I'm still struggling with, I want you to get results. Like you're here. I want to make sure that you're having the success that you want in the moment. Like I really want you guys to feel successful. All right. So element number 3, your physical health and energy. All right. This is about sleep and movement and fueling yourself and recovery. Like I had to just get up and stretch out my back. One of the things, if you travel in my communities much, when people need to take care of themselves, one of the things that I always say is thank you for taking care of yourself. I learned that from a client of mine who has taught me so much about consent and honoring the person. And so now, at our retreats, it's not about, oh, I'm sorry, I need to go to the bathroom. Thank you for taking care of yourself, right? Oh, I'm sorry, I need some tissues. Thank you for taking care of yourself. You don't need to apologize for taking care of yourself. I want you to take care of yourself. So I also want to take care of myself. So we had a short break. So what are the boosters? Like when are you most energetic? What are the changes that you could make to increase your energy? Sometimes we have a real clear idea, right? Like for a while, I started playing this game on my phone first thing in the morning, because I was kind of in a funk and I needed something to make myself feel better. And then I recognized that starting that game first thing in the morning with my eyes focused on my phone messed up my vision for hours afterwards. And I was like, oh, I can't do that. I can't be dead. The game is fun, but it's not worth my eyes. It's not, right? So what are the things that are going to help you in those spaces? Maybe it's a predictable sleep schedule or a short movement ritual. What are the blockers, right? Maybe you've got a chronic sleep debt or insomnia and you need to suss that out so that you can get some quality sleep. These are things that we have a good bit of control over. Shana says, this is where I struggle the most. I found out 2 days ago I'm seriously anemic and I need an iron infusion. It's a struggle to do anything when I have zero energy. Absolutely. So the thing is right now, solve for iron, because that's the thing that's going to help move the needle on energy, right? And if anemia continues to be an issue, then focusing some of your spoons on what can I do to care and maintain myself becomes the priority. You need to take care of yourself because none of the other stuff gets done if Shana doesn't have Shana's oxygen mask on first. Like, that's critical. So thank you for taking care of yourself. I look forward to hearing about your iron infusions and how that's going for you. Such a low energy week. It's been rough getting the things I want to get done. Absolutely. And sometimes we have those. And when we recognize this is a low energy week, and the thing that helps me during a low energy week is to do as little as possible. Like, what are the things that I absolutely have to do that I can't push till next week? How many spoons are they going to take? And do I really have the spoons to give to those things? Sometimes that happens. But if it's becoming a pattern, an ongoing, oh, I see it here, I see it here, I see it here over and over again, then there's probably something in your systems or your workflows that are impacting that you might be able to change, right? So those are the places to start looking. All right, number 4, your mental or emotional state. Your mood, your focus, your resilience, decision fatigue. Questions you might ask yourself are, what are the thought patterns that pull me out of flow? What are the rituals that I have or the routines that I have that restore clarity for me? I think I saw earlier, Suzanne said something about taking a walk with the dog, right? So sometimes getting out of the house, I know for me, is not just a nice to have. It's like, I need to get out. I need to get away from this. As much as I love this space, I need to get out and be where people are, because people fill me up. Even if I'm not directly interacting with them, the energy of being where people are does something to me. It boosts my mood. I feel better when I'm around other people. I don't even have to be talking to them. Like when I was in high school, I would go to a party, and usually I was that weird kid who sat kind of in the corner with my back to the corner, kind of surveying the room. You know, I'd have my little punch cup and, whatever, and I'd just kind of be in the corner. And I'm having a good time enjoying being where everybody is, even though I had some anxiety around, some of these kids I liked and some of them I didn't. But I'm thinking of cast parties in particular, theater cast parties. And someone would come over and be like, are you having a good time? I'm like, yeah, I'm having a good time. And they'd be like, oh, well, you just kind of look like you're off in the corner by yourself. I'm like, yep. But I am, I promise you, I'm having a great time. I may not look like it, but I am, right? Because I know that that's something that fills me up. So maybe one of your blockers is, unresolved stress that's pulling your attention, right? Maybe it is you're battling with depression or anxiety or something like that. And this isn't something that you can solve, but there are supports that help you when you are going through the hardest parts of that, right? Those would be boosters for you. Transition rituals, therapy. I got a therapist and I love her. And she actually shows up for me in a couple of different places on my map, because she also is part of my core domain. She shows me who I am. She reminds me who I am. She holds that mirror up for me, right? So sometimes we can have things that apply in different places, and that's great too, because that helps us see how resourced we really can be. Number 5, your creative or intellectual flow. This is about idea generation or incubation, coming up with new ideas and thoughts and creativity. When do your best ideas show up? Where do your best ideas show up? What interrupts that creative incubation for you? I have a client who petitioned hard at her workplace to get a private office that was kind of set away from everybody else because that's where she does her best work. Isolated and alone and away from the noise of the fax machine and all the people passing by all the time. If she had a door that could close, she could do so much more. And I mean, like, she had to really vie for that. And finally they were like, all right, we'll let you try it. And it was exactly what she needed. And productivity improved, and attitudes at work, not just hers, improved. Results for the creative output improved. Like, everybody was like, all right, you can keep that office. You can keep the office. So, like, these are the things that sometimes we have to fight hard for and advocate for ourselves on things. And sometimes we don't. Sometimes it's really easy. Oh, I just need to stop drinking that coffee after 1:00 in the afternoon. Okay, cool. Number 6, your cognitive / neurodiversity needs. And this is something that, again, if you are not neurodivergent, you're probably not even aware of the differences in how brains work and process data and see the world and translate that data through our brains back to our spirits, right? Like, how does your brain prefer to process and work? Where do you need more structure or more spaciousness? What accommodations do you need to help you focus? When we do our annual retreat, our client retreat, we have little fidget clickers for our neurodivergent folks so that they can stay at the table and work on their plans, but they've got something to occupy themselves to help them stay where they need to be and not start to walk away and be like, oh, I can't do it. Well, maybe you can't. And if you can't, cool. Thank you for taking care of yourself. And if this is just about, I need something else to stim while I'm doing this, cool. Here are resources. Here are toys. Have fun. Make this work for you in whatever way you need it to. So, do you need structured templates? Do you need timers or sensory accommodations? Do you have blockers, things that are like overstimulating you? Are the instructions not clear? That can really drive somebody batty. Do you have meetings that go on and on and on and on and on, and that just doesn't work for you? And you can advocate for yourself and say, hey, can I just get the AI summary at the end of the meeting and not just show up to the meeting because it really saps my productivity by the end of the day? Shayna says, if you could provide an outline of this in the community, that would be so helpful, because one of my neurodivergent needs is that I don't process audio well. So I'm taking notes, but yes, and absolutely, all of this will be inside the community once we're done here. This is one of the challenges of being on YouTube Live, was I wanted to have the better quality because this is going into the course program. I didn't want to do this on Zoom and have really bad choppy quality of the video and the audio. So this was the trade-off. But yes, I have all the notes. I have all of the outline stuff, and all of those learning materials will actually go into the community right underneath this video link that you use to get here. So you'll be able to see all of this stuff and work through it more methodically. I don't have a worksheet per se, but wherever you've already started taking notes, that's the place to keep taking notes. So, all right, so that is your personal domain. Now we're going to move into the operational workspace domain. And when I say workspace, this is, your physical environment, whether that's at home, in your business, in your kitchen or your bedroom, your living room, as far as I'm concerned, right? And we start with number 7. This is your physical environment and your ergonomics. Your desk, your lighting, your workspace design. Where do you do your best work? Is there something that you could change about your environment? Like today, that picture up atop of my little neon sign, I hung that this morning before this workshop because I was like, I don't want that space to be empty. And I had been planning to hang that thing and planning to hang that thing and I never got around to it. And I'm like, I'm doing it today. So I did it this morning, right? It had been sitting on the floor and I'm like, I got to get this picked up and I like declutter and put things where they belong, right? For me, a blocker is having a chaotic space that is chaotic in ways that I don't like, right? To a lot of people, this is super chaotic. There's a whole lot of stuff to look at. But for me, it's like all my bracelets are in one spot. All my earrings and necklaces are all organized in one place, right? Like all of my cosmetics are right down here where they need to be so that I can get to them. All of my rings are in one, like it's organized chaos. It doesn't feel like chaos to me, but somebody else might be like, whoo, child, that's a lot. That's a lot. But I do my best work when I can swing around in my chair and be like, my pretties. Like, it just makes me feel different, right? And I mean, I've lived in other places where I couldn't do this, right? You can't put holes in the walls. You can't paint the walls. You can't, right? Because we were renting. And we got a place that was like, yeah, just put it back the way it was when you move out. I'm like, yay. Okay. So where are you doing your best work? And what are the things that are going to help you do more of that work? Like decluttered zones for focused work, right? Or what are the things that are holding you back? Maybe the lighting's not great. Like for a while in here, there wasn't a lot of light. And I finally unpacked, my ring light. We've almost got everything on. Oh, there it goes. We've almost got everything unpacked now. So I'm like, now things need to have a home because we can't just have this stuff all over everywhere because that won't work either, right? So making sure that your space is designed for your comfort. I tried like 3 different office chairs before I settled on this one because the other ones were too hard or too shallow or not wide enough or whatever. And I don't like this like orange dude thing back here, this like counterweight on the chair. I think it makes the chair huge from front to back. But it makes the chair comfortable. So trade-off. Operation Clean Shayna's Desk will need to commence soon. Right. And right, if Operation Clean Shayna's Desk feels huge, then it's like Operation Clean the left side of Shayna's desk, and then Operation Clean the right side of Shayna's desk, one piece at a time. I remember when my kids were little, I would do mind maps of the house and be like, all right, if the clean house is my goal in the middle, what are the different parts of the house that need to be cleaned? There's the kitchen and the bathroom and my office and the living room and the basement. And all right, let me focus on just the kitchen. All right. What has to be done in the kitchen? Well, in the kitchen, I have the counter and I have the stove and I have the fridge and I have this cupboard up top and the cupboard down below. Cool. All right. Which one of those am I going to start with? Let's start with the stove. All right, cool. On the stove, there's the burners on the top. There's the oven. There, like I got super granular because then I could just focus on that one little piece. And sometimes I just be like, I'm just going to clean the whole room and I'm not going to stop till I'm done. If I've got that energy, cool. But if I don't, do what you can as you are able. That is something that I talk about all the time. Shayna says, yes, I will do 15 minutes and then take a break, or I'll take care of only the blue things. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. All right. So the corollary to our physical environment, number 8, is our digital environment and the platforms that you choose to be on, right? So platforms and the algorithms that drive them. Where visibility lives online for you, where you're storing your files, how you're storing your files, which platforms reward your strengths, not just keep dangling a carrot in front of you to get you to keep performing for the algorithm. What is a contingency that you have if the algorithm shifts? And one of the things that I noticed recently was how AI was surfacing content. And I did a post in the community about how AI was surfacing content. And I said, going back to long form blogging, while it's not on somebody else's platform, like I'm not on Substack, it's just my blog on my website, that's helping me reestablish my thought leadership in this space about capacity alignment in business design. And so I know there are a lot of people who are like, I will not read your blog posts because they are too long. That's cool, but AI will. And I'm writing it for you as much as I am writing it for them, because I want it to be found, right? And so I know that TikTok is not algorithmically favorable to me, but my long form blog posts are algorithmically favorable to me for AI, for search engine optimization, etc. So I'm going to put more juice there right now. And that means, I'm not shaking my butt on Instagram. I'm not showing up in those other places in those other ways because those aren't to my benefit. So a booster could be a platform that's aligned with your audience and with the way you want to show up. A blocker could be being dependent on a platform where the algorithm has changed. When the algorithm changed in Instagram a few years ago, a whole lot of creators were like, and they had to relearn how to get Instagram to send them people. I'm like, that's a lot of, dancing like a puppet for them instead of being the puppet master of my own business. So where are you storing your files? Are they in the cloud? Are they on Google? Do you have an external hard drive? Like, what does your digital environment look like? I had a client once who had a Mac and she had saved all of her files to the desktop. And she's like, I don't know where anything is. And I'm like, well, I can see why. And so literally she hired me to sit there and organize and resort and all of her files. And I was like, you need to learn how to do this for yourself. I'm happy to do it for you because you're in the incubator, and whatever you need my support for, I'm here to support you. And we can do all of this. And if that doesn't help you continue to maintain it, you're just going to end up with a desktop full of stuff again, right? So what are the things that are going to support you to have whatever level of organization in your digital environment that's going to help you feel more successful? Or being at the mercy of a platform's guardrails, right? Getting locked out, losing one's account, absolutely. And depending on the topics that you're working with, sex workers and people, even therapists who work in relationships and sexuality, sometimes run afoul of these platforms that are like, we can't take your payments because you talk about sex. It's like, what? Really? Like, what? Okay, I'm a therapist. Doesn't matter, right? So you have to find workarounds and you have to figure out, like, how do I make this work for me? Or do I just say, forget it, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to be over here doing this thing instead, right? There are plenty of people who do not use social media who make really good money doing what they love. There are plenty of celebrities who are on zero social media and they still get jobs, right? So we get to choose. All right, numero 9, systems, tools, and workflows. These are your templates, your automations, your standard operating procedures, the stuff that linears love and chaotics are like, do I have to? You want to ask things like, what are the repeatable tasks that you can systemize or that you can teach someone else to do? Is there an automation that might save me some time and some spoons so that I can put that energy somewhere else? Inside Zoom, integrated with Zoom, there's a tool called If This Then That, ITTT, right? And it will go to my Zoom and pull down my client recordings and upload them to my Google Drive for me so that I don't have to go do that manually. Then all I have to do is go to my Google Drive and move it to the right client folder. But it's all in one spot and it's all done once. I don't have to wait for it to download and then wait for it to upload. The machine does that for me. And that saved me a good couple of hours of my week because it automatically does it for me, right? Finding those things that give you your spoons back. Yes, please and thank you. More of that. Okay. The blockers would be processes that steal your time, right? Jen's got a dash. Thanks for joining me, Jen. You can catch the recording inside the community and again, all the notes and stuff. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being here. So yeah, systems, tools, and workflows. What are the things that are going to help things run more smoothly for you so that you feel more successful in the moment? What are the things that are stopping you? Oh, if I could just figure out how to systematize that thing, then this would be so much easier, right? And sometimes that thing that you're trying to get systematized, you're not the only person. So it sometimes pays to be like, does anybody know how to do this? And then someone comes out and goes, oh yeah, this tool over here is really great for that, right? Pop in the community and ask. I'm sure there's probably somebody there too. All right. Number 10, time, rhythm and scheduling, right? So if you're familiar, like what's your chronotype? Like what is your sleep patterns like? Like, do you get up early and then go to bed early? Or do you get up at like a regular time and go to bed at like are you a night owl? Like understanding your natural rhythms as it relates to time. What are the peak windows of operating time for you? When is the best time for you to do your deep work? How long can you sustain focused work? And that might vary, right? Especially if you are ADHD, there are some times where you can just like zone in and lock in and like 8 hours goes by and you're like, I didn't even know the world kept on marching. It felt like 10 minutes. But then there are other times where it's like, especially if it's something that's dealing with executive function or processing things in a way that doesn't work as well for you, it takes more spoons just to stay engaged. And you're like, if I get 15 minutes through this, that's going to be a miracle, right? Knowing that about yourself allows you to create spaciousness for yourself, nourish yourself, do the other things that need to happen, and still let you take advantage of whatever the truth is of your capacity at that moment, right? So maybe back-to-back meetings don't work for you. Maybe back-to-back meetings are great for you because you get it all done in one day and then you can go move on to other things for the rest of the week. What really works for you? Those are the things to be thinking about. Number 11, we're just about to the halfway point. Physical infrastructure and logistics. So this applies more to people who have physical inventory and product-based businesses, but it's still something important for us to talk about. You know, office access, shipping, commute times, material resources. What are the physical constraints that are costing you time and money? What are the infrastructure workarounds that are going to help you make that move more smoothly? Like for me, love them or hate them, all my books are print on demand through Amazon because that was easy for me, because that was low stress for me, because I didn't have to worry about carrying an inventory of books. I have another client who's like, no, I want my books here. I want to ship them myself. I want to know that I've got them and I don't have to worry about some print on demand guy screwing it up. Okay. Right? Different strokes for different folks. Maybe you need somebody local so that you don't have to deal with overseas import fees. Or maybe you're working a job right now and the commute's 2 hours. One way. That makes for a very long day. But again, seeing that allows you to go, all right, well, if this is still my reality, how do I support myself in other ways so that it eases the burden of that 2-hour commute? Okay. And, you know, We don't always have control over all of those. I can't control what the shipping company is going to do. I can't control what Amazon's going to do. I can't control what traffic is going to be like for that 2-hour commute. But knowing it allows me to prepare in different ways. Shayna says, yes, I used to pack and ship books and handled reseller orders. Now everything goes through my distributor. It's worth a few cents per book for me to not have to go to the warehouse. Yes, right. Some people want to touch everything and other people don't. And you got to do the thing that works best for how you're wired to work. That's what all of this is about. All right, we're moving into the relational and social domain now. Number 12 is your interpersonal energy and your boundaries. Okay. Who energizes you? Who drains you? What are the boundaries that you need to honor and enforce? Where are your boundaries leaky? Who fuels your best work? Do you need to set a boundary that you haven't been setting? Those are the kinds of things that come up in this element of this domain. Boosters could be having clear, deep work boundaries. Like in my first book, I wrote, work when it's time to work, play when it's time to play. And for me now, my work day's over by about 4:00 Pacific time because my kid calls me every day at 4:00 Pacific time during the work week. And I don't want to be doing other things and not be able to be present to my kid because I love my kid and he's important to me. And it's the one time every day I get to see his face. But when I lived 2 time zones the other way, my day was a little bit later. I was done at like 6 or 7 because he called me at 7:00 because time zones, right? So moving here really bumped my whole day up, but it works for me because then I've got the afternoon and evening to just be like, I don't have to see clients. I don't have work to do. I can just enjoy being with my partner. Like that's important to me too, right? So that's a boundary that I had to set for myself. A blocker, having constant interruptions or draining relationships. I have a person in my life who I dearly love that sometimes I dread seeing messages from them on my phone. As much as I love them, sometimes it's nice to not hear from them every once in a while because it's just an emotionally draining relationship right now. And it hasn't always been, and I don't think it always will be, which is why I continue to maintain the relationship. But I've had to set boundaries with them and with myself around how I will engage with them and when I will engage with them, right? It happens. Number 13, we just crossed the hump. Team delegation and collaboration. So for those of you who are just an army of 1 or 2, this is probably not as mission critical as somebody who's dealing with a larger team or more people that they're interfacing with. This is making sure people are in the right roles, the delegation is going off properly. Maybe it's about hiring or clarity in those collaborative relationships that you have. This is where I talk about IPA, important personal activities and income producing activities. I define this as the things that only you can do, right? The things that must be done by you in order to derive the benefit. So an important personal activity would be like brushing your teeth. While it is true that someone else could brush your teeth still have to be involved in the brushing in order for you to have the benefit of clean teeth. If someone else is brushing their teeth, you don't get clean teeth. So that's a personal activity that you must do in order to get the benefit. An income producing activity for you might be meeting with your clients. In some businesses, the business owner doesn't do that. In other businesses, that is the crux of what the business owner does. And it's the thing that you have to do if you want to derive the benefit for yourself and for your client. So having a reliable VA or clear role definitions, those could be boosters for your business. But micromanaging and having unclear expectations and scope creep and all these things that don't really help you have healthy boundaries with the people that you're working with, those would be blockers. So what are the boosters and blockers that you have? Shayna says, I now refer to teeth brushing as polishing the crowns of my skeletal infrastructure. I love it. Anything that involves crowns, I'm here for. I approve. I approve. I approve. All right, number 14. Your mentors, your advisors, your network of people. So, access to expert feedback or peer networks, or I am part of a mastermind group with 3 amazing human beings that don't just make my business better, they make me and my life better. And I honestly cannot imagine what my state of affairs would be if they were not part of my world. So that is a booster for me. An actively maintained mastermind, mentor relationships, coaching relationships, having a teacher or a mentor or a guide. Those can all be boosters in the right conditions. Blockers can be isolation, poor quality feedback loops. Like you're not getting the information that you need in order to feel successful. Like you can have a coach who, everybody swears by, but if you're not getting the feedback that you need in the way that you need it, that's not the right coach for you. No matter how great they are, it's got to work for you too. So questions you could ask yourself are, who are people that could help speed your learning? Is there a network that you could join or leave that would help you feel more successful? Like those are places to look. Number 15, audience and customer dynamics, access to your market. This is about who's buying from you, how are they behaving, are they even willing to pay you, right? I don't necessarily want to say your ideal or your perfect fit customer, because it's not just about the transaction. This is about the relationship, right? Who is that clear ideal customer, but where is the audience friction, right? And what needs to be tested or tweaked? I read a research report a while ago that said women who wear makeup sell more, make more money. And I was like, I wonder if that's true. So I started testing wearing makeup and not wearing makeup in the work that I was doing to see how people responded to me. And somebody actually told me at one point that they had hired somebody because they saw their nails and thought their nails were great. And the story in their head was because they took such good care of their nails, they would take good care of them. And I was like, well, that's interesting. If all I got to do is paint my fingernails to help you think that I'm going to take good care of you, I'm willing to do that. Let's try it and see. So, these are places to look, because also putting on makeup is a lot of work. So I don't do it for my regular client calls very often unless I've got something else going on that day. So people who come to expect this and then see me without this are like, right? So we have to walk the line on congruency there, but it's worth it to experiment and see what works for you and your clients, right? If putting on some lipstick attracts the kind of clients that you want, maybe it's worth it to you, and maybe it's not. So these are the awarenesses that we need to have. Number 16, we are now moving into capital markets. We are moving into the fishbowl of the things that are harder for us to see. Number 16 is financial capital and cash flow. What level of revenue gives you breathing room? What access to financing do you have? What kind of a financial runway do you have? My ex-husband, for him, $2,000 in the bank was like having no money in the bank. That was his zero. And the minute the bank account went to $1,999.99, he had a full-on panic attack. And it's like, dude, there's money there. He's like, no, that's like, we're overdrawn. Like, you could hear the terror in his way. I'm like, I will go put a penny in the bank. Like, I will go do that right now. I will pull it out of my sock and I will go put the penny in if that helps you breathe more normally, right? So knowing what that is for you, for him, $2,000 felt like we're good. We're good. And anything less than that created a lot of anxiety for him. Okay. So boosters could be predictable revenue streams. I know I've got $1,500 a month coming in, or $10,000 a month coming in, or $150,000 a month coming in. I know I've got that. I'm good. right? Having a cash reserve. But a blocker might be my cash flow is all over the map right now and I don't know. And that's really creating some anxiety for me. And I need to solve for that so that I can feel more successful right now. Or, and this is one I see a lot, undercharging for the market that you're here to serve. Okay. And undercharging looks different in different situations. And I got a whole program on undercharging that's in the community if that's something that's going on with you. But recognizing that that is a thing for you helps you to solve for that issue. Number 17, intellectual property, legal and compliance, right? So things related to your IP, compliance, so taxes, which are tax law, not tax money. Tax money would be like in revenue in number 16. This is like tax law and making sure that you're in compliance, making sure that your contracts are clean, that IP ownership is clear. I just had a whole kerfuffle over the naming of a program that I've been using for a very long time. And somebody just went and registered a trademark that is very similar to what I've been using. I didn't register the trademark. So now I got to rebrand all that. Yay! Or I got to contest it or fight it or whatever. And I'm just probably not worth it to me to fight over it. But my IP wasn't protected. The name of the IP was not protected. So anybody could use it and they don't even know me. So I'm sure this was just their divine idea and it just crossed in the mail. So what legal exposures do you have? What are the housekeeping actions that you can take in your legal, in your policies, to help you be more compliant with your taxing authority, with the legal structures that are there for you in your business? Okay. Do you have sloppy agreements that are putting you at risk? That could be a blocker too. Number 18, supply chains and physical product logistics. Again, this is for people who have stuff, sell stuff, brick and mortar, physical products. But it's still, because it's an area of a domain, it's something that we need to talk about. And if it doesn't apply to you, you can just be like, all right, you can skip ahead on that. I got that part handled. I don't need to worry about that. So this is sourcing and manufacturing and fulfillment. Now I talked earlier about Amazon from a supply chain construct, but also from it's just easier for me to have them source it, right? So that I don't need to suss it. I don't need to worry about it. But people who were relying on AWS a few weeks ago got hit with the harsh reality of, well, what do I do if all my eggs are in one basket? Now everything is shut down because AWS is shut down. And this is Amazon's web service, right? Their cloud computing went down. And they're like, oh my God, the internet's not working. Well, parts of the internet are working, but the parts that Amazon has their hooks into are not working today for whatever reason. And that says, oh, maybe putting all my eggs in this one basket for fulfillment isn't the best idea. It's why I have files in the Google Drive cloud, but then I also have an external hard drive here at my desk where I have redundant copies of things. Because that way, if one of them goes down, I still have access to the other one, right? And not everything, but the really mission critical stuff, I keep that way because it's important to me to make sure that I am covered, I am protected, and the things that are the most important are still accessible to me. I have copies of some of my most important legal paperwork as photos on my phone. Like that's important to me. Somehow I managed to turn the microphone on my phone and it was like taking dictation. Good times. All right. So where is your supply chain at risk? Do you need a backup supplier or do you need a digital pivot to test with a new supplier if you are dealing with physical goods? All right. Yes to on-site and off-site data redundancies. Yes, because things happen. Absolutely. All right, number 19, metrics, measurement, and feedback loops. So Key performance indicators, KPIs, for those of you who are into that kind of thing. Boosters are going to be meaningful metrics that predict your progress. So I don't necessarily care how many subscribers I have on my email list. Like, that number isn't as important to me as how many people are actually opening those emails, how many people are actually clicking those emails. Because I can have 30,000 people on my list. If 2% of them are opening it, that's not as good as if 40% of those people are opening it, right? Because if 40% of those people are opening it, doesn't matter if I have 500 people on that list or 5,000 people on that list, that percentage of volume is going to stay the same, right? So that's the metric that I look at. But other people, they care about that number of subscribers. You know, I know somebody who had at one time over 1 million subscribers on their email list. And they were all proud of their 1 million subscribers. And I was like, but when was the last time you cleaned that list? Doesn't matter. I got 1 million people. I'm like, okay. All right. Enjoy your 1 million people. Your 1 million people. Okay. So blockers would be vanity metrics, unclear feedback loops, things that aren't actually moving the needle for you, but look good on paper, or, you know, they're bragging rights to some group of people that aren't helping pay your bills, I guess. So what metrics are actually telling you that you're succeeding? What measurements do you need to stop looking at or start looking at? Again, in a way that is aligned for you and helps you feel successful. This isn't about, I need 40,000 more new metrics. No, because that won't help you feel successful. That will help you feel overwhelmed. Jen says, a successful business owner once shared that she had 100,000 people in her Facebook group and 0 engagement. Right. Yeah. Like, numbers matter, but the right numbers matter more. And that's what the point of this one is all about. All right. Now we're moving into the much more global, the systemic, the macro, the contextual domain. All right. And number 20 is industry and technological trends. Okay. What trends are helping you? What trends potentially threaten your model? And the best example I can give right now is the use of AI in the creative field, right? For some people, AI has been such a blessing because it has made the work that they've needed to do so much easier and so much faster. For other people in the industry, they are losing their jobs. They are being laid off. They're being let go. They're being told that that job doesn't even exist anymore because now we've got a machine to do it. So for some people, it's a booster. For some people, it's a blocker. But platforms change. You know, we were talking about like TikTok. First it's up and then it's down and then it's up again, right? It's got this algorithm and then it changes the algorithm. Platform shifts happen. AI, category moves, right? These things are all happening, and it's up to you to be like, okay, what is actually going to help me? And what are the things that potentially could threaten the things that I'm up to? And do I need to make adjustments to navigate that? Because sticking your head in the sand is not going to solve your problem. It's not going to help you stay in a place where you can thrive and feel successful. All right. Yeah. So number 21, we are almost done, my friends. Economic systems, macro economy. Okay. These are things like inflation and tariffs and recession risk, things that you have no direct control over, but can very intimately impact you and your bottom line and the level of success you feel. I have a colleague who used to be in the internet world. They now have a stationery store in Chicago, and they import a lot of the physical goods that they sell in the store. And when the tariffs hit, like some of the things that they were buying, they bought at one price, and then the tariffs hit and they ended up having to pay almost that exact same price again. So basically the price had doubled in order to get the shipment to sell it in the store. And by the time they did that markup, they were not going to make any money on it inside their store. There was no way. And so that forced them to make some decisions about, okay, I'm not going to order from these folks anymore until this whole tariff situation figures itself out. And I'm going to have to source things from over here right? Like they had to scramble to figure out how they were going to cover. So exposure to sudden macro shocks can really do a number on you. And sometimes, well, you never have control over them, but sometimes they happen so quickly that it's very hard to even respond to what's going on. But having a pricing model and an overhead model that allows you to flex in downturns, it's one of the reasons why Apple didn't see a whole lot of hurt when the tariffs started hitting, because their items are priced so high already that they had enough cushion financially to cushion whatever taxes and tariffs might be happening to them in the months that have, in those intervening months. So what macro forces might be affecting your margins? Are there ways that you can hedge? For years, I kept currency in my PayPal account in US dollars and in British pound sterling, because I had clients who were paying in those different currencies. And it was a great way for me to hedge if the dollar was low against the pound or if the dollar was high against the pound. And then I could just move money to wherever it was going to be worth more to me to have it. So those are things that, you can think about when you're dealing in more global relationships. Number 22. These are political and regulatory environments, right? So laws, trade policies, permits, censorship, being able to operate in an environment that enables you to operate well inside the current regulatory conditions, right? That whole Jimmy Kimmel situation with what was going on with the different stations and the FCC and all of that stuff, like those were market conditions and regulatory conditions that were having a direct impact on Jimmy Kimmel's show. Again, he can't control them. But man, did that audience have a lot of influence when they all started canceling their Hulu accounts, their Disney accounts, and everything else, right? So which regulations impact your work? Where would a policy shift hurt you or help you? This is why you see billion-dollar corporations with their political action committees trying to get them to sway the regulators' votes, because then it's more beneficial to them. May not be more beneficial to us, but it's more beneficial to them. Supply chains fit into the economic systems. Yes. And sometimes aspects of supply chain might move into regulatory, right? Like if you're dealing with overseas procurement and dealing with trade stuff, that might be political regulatory as well as supply chain, right? So sometimes these things go in multiple places. All right, number 23. Almost done, my friends. Cultural, societal norms, audience values, right? So cultural fit, trust, language norms. How is your message landing culturally? Do you need to adapt your message to your audience? So in a workshop like this, I can speak pretty plainly, and I am who I am. And if I'm speaking on a stage at a national convention, they may want me to tone down my profanity a little bit or not use it at all. They may want me to say some things that are in alignment with their ideology at their organization. And so long as they're not out of alignment for me, I might say them the way that they want it to be said versus saying it the way I would normally say it, like, hey, how's it going? Right? So we need to be aware of those times and places where we might need to massage our message a little bit so that it lands for the people that we're trying to reach versus pretending to be somebody that we're not. Okay. Tone deaf messaging. Like the example that I remember is Dr. Oz was running for a seat in Congress, I think it was, and he was in the grocery store talking about prices of food are ridiculous, blah, 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 blah. And he was like, I went to go get the ingredients for a crudité. And like his audience has no idea that a crudité is a veggie tray. Like, why didn't you just call it a veggie tray? That's what people can relate to and identify with. And your fancy phrase left everybody going, you do not understand who we are. You do not see us for who we are. Therefore, we're not going to vote for you. Right? So again, a difference between being somebody you're not and making sure that the message fits the audience. Okay. When you are creating tone deaf messaging or culturally appropriating and acting like it's cool or it's a funny joke or whatever, like you can actually be causing harm. And that's the last thing that we want to be doing. Okay. Number 24, geography. Okay. The local ecosystem in which you are operating. We left Indiana and moved to the Pacific Northwest because I saw the writing on the wall that being there was not going to make me feel safe. I wanted to get to a body of water, to a coast, so that if we needed to flee the country, we could. And I know that that sounds like a lot. And I needed to do that for my nervous system. We needed to do that for me. Now, I have people in my family who left the country completely because of what is going on in the political climate right now. You can't always just leave the country, right? But if you can find jurisdictions where there are favorable taxes or markets or talent conditions, maybe it's worth investigating those places. If the place you're living is too expensive, or there are visa restrictions that make it hard for you to travel, or the market's just not there. I mean, this is why you see people move to LA and New York when they want to be an actor, because that's where the market is, right? So it's not necessarily about leaving the country. A lot of people come to the United States from other countries to work in Silicon Valley because that's where the work is, right? Like that's, if you want to be a mover and shaker in the tech world, you're probably going to spend some time or have people around you that did spend time in Silicon Valley. So would another location materially change your feelings of success? Is there a low-cost trial market that you could test, right? Like, what would it be like to spend a week in Portland and see how that feels, right? We got to do what we got to do to make things work for us. Number 25. Now, this is the one we as individuals have the absolute least control over, but it is still an important thing to think about. And that is the environmental and planetary context in which we are operating. Now, as of today, people can't just leave the planet and go live on some other planet, as far as I know. Okay. Which means we're all beholden to this marble that we are floating around on. So we're talking about things like climate risk, resource constraints, sustainability on the environmental, ecological level. What are the climate risks that might affect your operations? If you live in Florida, hurricanes are a thing. You got to recognize that. So is there a step that you could implement that would help your company be more resilient? If you're living in an environment where the environment is important, you're living up north and there's a lot of snow in the wintertime. I have a colleague who by November 1st, all her travel stops. She refuses to do any travel until all the snow in the upstate New York area goes away in the springtime. She's like, if you want to see me, you're coming here, or we're going to do it virtually. I am not getting in my car to even go to the airport. I'm not doing it, right? She has made that decision for herself. So she hunkers down all winter. What are the climate risks and rewards for the places that you're choosing to be? All right. That's the 25. And now that you've seen them, you can't unsee them. So it wouldn't be fair of me to give you all of this awareness and not give you the deeper layer here. The Conditions for Success framework gives you an awareness and it gives you agency, but it's integration that's important, and that requires some sovereignty. Okay. The ultimate challenge here is to learn how to protect what supports you, even if other people don't get it. To trust your own metrics for success, even when culture or capitalism or comparison are whispering, just do more, just work harder. to be able to renegotiate your relationship with external systems, not as a victim of circumstance, but as a conscious designer of as much of that reality within those constraints that you can. In other words, to move from managing conditions to embodying the alignment that you're seeking here. And that's an ongoing, evolving proposition. That's the growth edge. We're living in a world that still rewards overextension and proving, and staying anchored in your truth and your design conditions is not always going to be easy. Okay. This is the point where the framework stops becoming this map that you follow and starts becoming the landscape that you live inside. When your conditions for success are truly aligned, your life and your work stop pulling against each other. You're no longer running on fumes, trying to fit yourself into systems that were never built with you in mind. Now, some of that you have no control over, but we still have influence. And when more of us do that, especially those of us who have had to navigate spaces that were not made for us, teams get healthier, communities get stronger, new leaders rise who model what sustainable success actually looks like. This isn't just about feeling better. This is about changing the ecosystem we work and live in. And when you thrive, the world gets better. One clear, outrageous, capacity-aligned choice at a time. Now, I know we're at the top of the hour, but I do want to take an opportunity to see if there are any more questions before we close. So if you have a question, go ahead and pop it into the chat. Again, if you're watching the recording, please just pop it into the community and I will be happy to answer it. I see. Thank you. I have to head out to another call. I have to run. This has been amazing. Thank you. I'm so glad that this has served you. Again, if you're in the community, the notes and resources will be available probably later today. Don't quote me on that, but probably later today. I have to get it uploaded once this recording is complete. I'm not seeing any more questions in the chat. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you for taking the 2 hours to be here with me, to do this work, to explore what your conditions for success are and how to better build your life and your work so that you can feel successful right now in this moment instead of waiting for something somewhere out there. I am Lisa Robbin Young, and I will see you again very soon. Until then, blessings and peace. Have a great day.